In November 51, we became covers and moved down to Beachfield, a large granite house right in the centre of the cove, and instantly upgraded from being churchtowners to covers. The bottom of the cove was the top of the tree. This was a close-knit community, of necessity, really, cut off from the rest of the world, as it was, by that daunting Sennin Cove Hill. Many's the time the Sennin bus had to offload passengers part way, leaving them to walk up the steepest stretch to climb back on again at the top. Community and village life centred around the lifeboat, the cove's unifying force. The Sennin lifeboat house dominates the cove, and then, as now, the Sennin family names of Angove, Hutchins, Pascoe, Pender, George, Oliver, Nicholas and Shannon, from that day to this, dominated the crew list, and all their children were my school friends. Peter's son Adam, now a local GP, has been officially serving as crew for some years as the lifeboat's honorary medical advisor. Our house, Beachfield, was centre front, right by the sea, and appropriately named, as originally the house stood opposite what had once been tiny fields between the road and the shoreline, used to grow violets and anemones, some housing little wooden shacks, which I do remember, though the fields are long since washed into the sea and now replaced by a strong seawall. Next door lives someone I only ever heard referred to as Mare Trere. I'm guessing now her name was Mary Trenary. She was an old lady I dimly remember, wearing the long dark skirt and white pinny of the Victorian Cornish granny. I was a little frightened of her, and only ever saw briefly into her house, down a long dark passage with coloured lights at the end. Stained glass window, probably. A few doors to the other side lived Marjorie Thomas and her family. I was great friends with daughter Catherine, who had a big sister called Wendy, and Marjorie attended Sennin WI, as of course did Brenda. There were many friendships forged there, and many a WI member was persuaded to take part in the village pantomimes. Betty George and Mrs. Maitland I remember particularly as unlikely harem girls in diaphanous trousers. There was a little grocer's shop down opposite the lifeboat house, now a lovely cafe, and next door to it a knitting shop, which I recall as being owned by the delightfully named Marigold, or did I dream that? The bus from Penzance called quite regularly, and a large space between the houses on the front was kept vacant as the bus turning space, as is still the case today. For me, for any child, Sennin Cove was an idyllic place to live. Every day, rain or shine, I was down on the beach. Eyes down, wet ass no fish, as Mother used to say, squatting in rock pools, leaping over or scrambling among the boulders, finding treasures, paddling in the foamy waves, building dens in nooks and crannies, damming the stream at Vellandreath, or cartwheeling down the sand dunes. Brenda used to bring me down a sandwich and some homemade lemonade to keep me going. I couldn't have wished for a better childhood. I learned to swim off the lifeboat slip in the harbour, learned to love the wildlife, the wild winter waves and the people. Getting to Sunday school up that hill was a bit of a challenge, especially on cold wintry days, but it was a small price to pay. Despite living quite away from town, I still spent a lot of time with my lovely grandparents in Penzance, where I was Angus's Queen of the Roses.